G'day everyone, it's Turbo Tristan. In today's video, we'll just be going over where we're up to with the ED Type R Civic Resto Mod swap. We'll finish buttoning up the suspension, so that job is 100% done. There's been heaps of wiring going on in the background. We're gonna get to a full video of that. Ollie Mechanic has been working really hard, running the wires. We're doing a battery relocation, Haltech install, full new loom, all that sort of stuff. So that is coming in a future episode. And we're also going to do the Haltech dash and the electronic AC and electronic power steering. And I also spent the last week redoing the engine on Bois after the whole ordeal at Honda Nats. So if you want to see what happened there, go back and watch the other videos from Honda Nats with my K24 swap Civic. I also had my Mrs. car detailed. And Rhonda's back. We did some more mods on Rhonda, which we'll be racing on the weekend, so had to get Rhonda ready. So I've added in these vents here from CIRCUITWORX. They are to get the hot air out away from the tires, to save the tires going off in an endurance race, and also under heavy braking, all of the heat generated sort of stays underneath here in this wheel well. So a couple of options you can do is cut out the back here and have a big venting out the back there, or we were supplied these by CIRCUITWORX, so we figured we better put them to good use. And as you can see down in here, that is going to alleviate quite a lot of heat off the top of the tires, and any air that rises, so hot air rises, going to rise to the top and pocket up here. Well, now it has somewhere to escape from. It's also got the leading edge here, which is going to kick the air up like this, creating a little bit of downforce, pushing the front of the car down. But also when the air kicks up off this, it's going to suck all the rest of that hot air out of this section. So that is a really cool product from CIRCUITWORX. These are made of alloy, so it does form to the curves of the guard. So really happy with that. But over to the ED Type R swap, which is what you guys are here for. Let's see what we got to this last week and a half. Check it out. Well guys, it's finally time to fit the last pieces of the puzzle for the suspension. We've got the hard race rear lower control arms from ELUSIVE, and we got the front lower control arms from ELUSIVE. These are OEM replacements in the front, and they're the alloy ones for the rear. That's just how they come, blue in the front, black in the back. These are specially for the ED chassis, so we're going to stick these in. I'm also going to set up all the suspension settings and set the ride height and all that sort of stuff, and hopefully get it pretty close. So once the car is driving, I can send it off to get an alignment. So this thing is perfect for the road and ready to roll. So let's get these in the car. I'll show you what they look like in a moment. So we've got the front control arms in. Man, they pop under here. That blue is amazing. And everything now is so clean, you could eat off it under the carriage of the car. We've got the back ones in just over here. Nice and stealthy here, because these ones you'll be able to see them from behind the car, and we don't want to get any extra attention. This is a stealthy Resto Mod build. Also, we didn't have a choice. That's how they come in black. I'm really happy with that. Looks awesome. Everything's now black and silver under here, so that looks awesome. And yeah, really easy to install. 3 bolts plus the 4th one for the sway bar if you have one. Grab them from ELUSIVE Racing. We have all brand new bushes all throughout the car now. The only ones that's not brand new are these ones just here. I checked them out. Whilst they are really old, they're in pretty good condition, so we're just going to leave those alone. Hopefully there's enough adjustment here, and I've set all the ride height and everything that it can wheel align really nicely and drive like a brand new car. But yeah, just wrapping up all those sort of things. Everything is now tightened and torqued to spec, front and rear, suspension, ride height, and everything is set. So next time we wheel this car outside, I'll show you how it's going to sit. It does sit a little bit higher. It kind of looks stock with a nice set of wheels on it, and that's due to the sump being quite low. Now there's a few options for this. We could put a CL9 oil pump and sump on here, and that would help things out a bit, or a K20 oil pump. We don't really need one of those, but we could do that as well, and that would save us about 15 mil in the sump area here, which helps. But then we've got the headers are low, so at the moment this and this is the same height. I could lift the engine up higher by about 10, 15 mil, which would mean I could bring the car down lower again, but then we're going to run into bonnet clearance issues. So there is a lot to take into consideration, a lot of sacrifices. A B swap would have been easier because they did come out with a B swap, but K is the way, K is better. This is a much better resto mod. Everything is just so much more superior here. I know that's going to pee a lot of people off, but I don't care. I love my K series. K for the win. One of the major challenges in a build like this is cooling. It's very, very important. It's arguably one of the most important things of getting an engine running reliably is making sure it's cooled efficiently. And to do that, we're going to be running a custom setup. This is a Volkswagen Scirocco radiator from the late 80s, early 90s design. This is an alloy one. It is a dual pass, so the water comes in at the top, goes all the way along, goes down, and then all the way here and out the bottom. So it actually goes past in 2 passes. Now the overall surface area of this, I did a video years and years ago when I did a tucked radiator in my EK when it was a D series. And I took the 50mm alloy eBay radiator that I had and I put it up against this one, and this one had around about 20% more surface area. So essentially this is like a half size rad. Being it's alloy, being it's extra thick, it's going to cool really, really well. Plus we're going to do a whole bunch of other things to help make it cool nicely. But the reason why we're running this alloy radiator is it's been proven time and time again. Lots of Honda guys run this, and most importantly, it fits. Now check this out. So this is it just dummied up here, and we've got to modify this so that it fits in its little seat properly. But we've got a hand space in between the plenum and the core. We've got plenty of room here. The alternator is the next thing I've got to try and fit up and make sure that there's clearance here. There may or may not be, which means we might need to shove this whole thing across all the way like so, which is going to make it tight, being that we've got our power steering there. I'm confident we can make it work. There is still room in front where we can also mount this in front of here and mount it underneath there as well. So I'm going to get my buddy Matty, the master fabricator from Next Level Fabrication. He's going to come out and have a suss, and we're going to do some measurements. He's going to spend a night here, draw it all up, make a plan, take some measurements, and then make a custom setup for us. Now I know what you're thinking. There's barely any room for a cooling fan. We've got this Maradyne fan here. When Matty does the custom fabrication for the radiator setup, he'll make a shroud for this and a hard mount so that that's mounted there. There is again a hand space there, but we'll still need to modify these points here so it sits a bit further forward, giving us extra room. So I think that will work. So we'll have to put a custom bend on here for the thermostat outlet. The top should be fine, but we've got to put some other stuff up there as well. The other option, which I'm strongly considering, is we cut this out, which is the little bracket which supports the bonnet latch. We make a custom bracket off this point here and this point here, sit the radiator further forward, and that will strengthen this and sort of act as a brace for the radiator support and also the bonnet latch support there as well. So that's been done a million times before in the past. It works for everyone else. I don't see why it can't work for us. On top of just fitting a radiator in there, remember we're running electric air conditioning, we're running power steering, and we want this thing to be daily drivable with the thermo fan and running everything all through this cooler. So let's check out what else we've got to do. As mentioned, we've got a Maradyne thermo fan that comes from RACEWORKS, the guys there, so shout out to those guys. We've also been hooked up with Evil Energy, a company that reached out to me. They offered me a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't really need, but I did find this on their website. So I asked them if I could run one of these. There'll be a link in the description. They have a whole bunch of fittings, hoses, a whole bunch of performance stuff. Seems like a pretty new company, but they're keen to help us out on the build. So thank you guys. We'll be installing this as a transmission cooler, but it can also be run as a power steering cooler. So we're going to use it for that application, power steering cooler. It runs a similar fluid. It's going to help cool everything down, and it's going to help our Astra power steering pump run efficiently. So we're going to use it on there. The next major hurdle, as you guys know, is we'll be running electric air conditioning on this car. Now this unit is from T7 Designs. These are available at spoolup.com. We're going to do a whole video and we're going to do a whole setup on purely just electronic air conditioning. It's something I know pretty much nothing about, but I'm going to learn and then I'm going to tell you guys all about it. I will be selling these kits on my website, spoolup.com. So these are a must for the Australian summer and anyone who's got a resto mod project. So this will be coming in the future, but we've got to work out how we're going to package it first before we can fit it in the car and get it all running. So that's why we're talking about it now. And then we have the alloy radiator, which you've already seen. On modern cars, what they tend to do is they tend to package all of these things up in a big sandwich. So they layer them up, even with an intercooler, air conditioning condenser, the power steering cooler, or the transmission cooler, and then the radiator at the back with two huge fans just sucking air through at all times to keep it all cool. We're going to do the exact same thing. Now, if it's good enough for Lamborghini, Ferrari, Volkswagen, any brand new car, it's good enough for our Resto Mod ED Civic. So what I'm going to do now is lay all these things on here and see what it looks like and see how much space we're going to need to fit it up in the car. So this is my thinking with packaging all of this up. So first we've got our power steering cooler, and this is how it's going to be looking in the front of the car. So this is outside the car and this is on the inside in the engine bay. And the way I've done it like this is it's so we get maximum airflow in the areas we need. So the front bar is going to be in this section here. So it's going to expose sort of this much room here, sort of one whole hand span. So we're going to get some cooling here on the power steering cooler. The rest of it will still have airflow, of course. And then the next section will be hitting the air conditioning condenser, also passing through the power steering cooler. And then on the end here where it goes in and out, or in and out in the radiator, we'll have some fresh air hitting it here on this side. Plus we'll have the air coming through this and through this. And this guy here, the Maradyne fan, is going to be pulling air through all three of those cores, cooling everything down as it needs to. Worst case, we could flip everything over and run everything else on the inside and put the fan on the front and push it through. But we're going to have the air hitting it from this side, so pulling the air through is the main thing that I want to achieve out of this. So I think we've got everything pretty much sorted. The next bit is for the expert, which is Maddie, to come in and make it all fit and fabricate up all the parts so that it bolts in here. I really do think we're going to need to remove this, chop this out, and use the bolt holes there and there to make it fit. It'll be tucked. It'll give us a little bit of extra space here, a little bit of extra space here, and a little bit of extra space for the cooling system, which is the radiator hoses. What I am going to have to do though now is grab a swivel housing from spoolup.com.au, T7 design, keeping in the theme with everything, and run one of those so I can turn this down and point it this way. So we'll have a straight shot from our radiator hose straight up into the thermostat housing. One of the most important things when you're running all the extra electronic systems on the car is making sure your alternator is keeping up with the power demands of the 12 volt system. So we need 12 volts for the coil packs, we need 12 volts for the engine, the CD player, the power windows, the power steering, which we're running electric power steering. So there's a big load on the engine, and we're running electronic air conditioning. So to do that, we'll be upgrading the factory alternator to a 175 amp WASP alternator. Now these will be available as part of a kit for electronic power steering, or you can buy them yourself from spoolup.com.au. These come from our friends T7 Designs. Luckily we've got the T7 design parts here for the alternator solution and the T7 design parts here for the radiator solution. So all of those parts are on spoolup.com. Grab them now. I'm going to get these on. I'll show you what it looks like when we get it done. So this will be the first step in setting up electronic air conditioning in this car. So I'm going to get that in there first, because without this, we're not going to be able to run any of it. Well, that was so much easier doing that without the front bar on, of course. We have heaps of room now. We've got the WASP 175 amp alternator on, plugged in, and we've rerouted the thermostat outlet straight down here so we can meet up with the imaginary radiator hose. It's going to go up there. T7 Designs alternator relocator bracket is back on. So that is one job ticked off the list. Here's a sneak peek for the next video. We have a full array of Haltech products. Well guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video of me doing some little button-up jobs. There is still tons to go. All of the fun stuff is yet to happen. The radiator is currently off getting the fabrication work done to modify that so it fits tucked away, giving us a lot more room, and running all the coolers and condensers and everything for the power steering, aircon, and of course the water for the radiator. It's all coming together. One thing that I'm not quite 100% on is this sump here. It does hang quite low, as we all knew from the get-go. I'm considering swapping it out for either a CL9 oil pump or a K20 Type S oil pump. That way we can sort of save basically this line here. That'll be where the sump finishes, giving us that much more ground clearance, which is definitely going to help things out. I've got plenty of those sumps and I've got plenty of those oil pumps. So it's just a matter of what we want to do with it. It'll definitely help us with the ground clearance. As you can see there, that is the lowest part of the car. So that's going to be it for this video. Again, just a quick update. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to spool up, bring the boost. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.